Good morning and welcome to the Oasis DITA 1.3 Troubleshooting Webinar. Our first speaker today is Joanne Hackdos.
Good morning. This is Joanne Hackdos. I'm chair of the Oasis DITA Trouble Adoption Committee, and today we're going to talk about the new troubleshooting topic type that we've introduced for DITA 1.3. And I'm going to give you some background and introduction to troubleshooting and the concepts behind what we did, and then Bob will take over and present a demo of exactly what the troubleshooting information looks like. So let's get started. Why troubleshooting? Why did we introduce a new information type in DITA 1.3? With a new structure, a problem, cause, solution structure, and the use of steps from the task information type. Well, what we found in looking at this, and this was the work of the Technical Communication Subcommittee, we found that people in the industry really needed a troubleshooting information type. A number of organizations had created specializations for themselves. In fact, Bob Thomas was one of those. We knew that this was a really important kind of information that we needed for the DITA structure. We knew that in minimalism, the research shows that people come to documentation because they're looking for troubleshooting information and problem-solving information, and that's critical information that's really needed. So we needed to provide a structure that would make it straightforward for technical writers and others providing troubleshooting information to create that in the DITA architecture. We also knew that there was a need for troubleshooting elements, especially in the task topic. So we introduced troubleshooting in a step and troubleshooting in the task itself. We also knew that troubleshooting information might be presented in concept and reference and other places in task. So we provided a new note type along with warning and caution and danger and note itself, a new note type that you can select that is called trouble. So this is the sort of the rationale behind the plans established a year ago in the Technical Communication Subcommittee to create this new topic type. So why did we do this? What was the background? Well, for one, there's a great deal of research available to support the need for troubleshooting or problem-solving information. Hans van der Meij is a professor of technical communication at the University of Twente in the Netherlands, and his team of graduate students and researchers have looked at the issue of problem-solving information in technical manuals. They're looking at this because one of the backbones of the minimalist agenda is the importance of troubleshooting information to the users. In fact, we frequently know that people come to documentation only after they have a problem, that they're looking for advice, instruction on how to correct a problem. That's critical information that needs to be present in the documentation. Hans and his team published an article in 1996 that is an excellent article. We've got the link here for you about the difficulty that people had experienced in even finding problem-solving information in a group of manuals. The researchers looked at a select group of manuals and did an examination of how a user would go into that document and find the troubleshooting information. And they found that there were a number of problems associated with finding that information. So what is problem-solving information? What it should be doing is assisting people in detecting a problem, knowing that a problem has occurred, in defining what the problem is through that detection, in diagnosing what may have happened, and then correcting the problem. Right? So let's look at a very simple but typical example. It says if you insert the flash drive into the USB port, and the flash drive doesn't appear in the file browser, you may not have inserted it correctly, far enough into the drive. So the first part of that statement is, did you detect the problem? It's not in the file. There's a way there's the information the user needs to detect and define what the problem might be. The second step is to provide a diagnosis. What might have happened to cause the problem? Well, we didn't get the flash drive into the USB port far enough. So what do you do about it? Remove it and firmly reinsert it. Get it in correctly, and there's your correction. So that's the structure that we wanted to emulate in our solution, our problem-solving solution in the troubleshooting topic. We also knew that there were a number of obstacles that the researchers were pointing out that makes it difficult for people to find the troubleshooting information that they're looking for in documentation. Probably the core of the problem is that the information isn't labeled correctly, nor does it contain the right metadata to support search. What the researchers found was that no keywords were in the table of contents or in the index to help find troubleshooting information. 17% of tables of contents in the small group of manuals they examined had no problem-solving information. 32% lacked problem-solving keywords in the indexes, and 22% had no indexes at all. No way for people to find the information. Now, of course, today we're using search much more than we're using tables of contents or indexes, but the same problems occur. The troubleshooting information isn't labeled. It isn't called troubleshooting. It isn't organized in a way that makes it easy for people to find. The researchers also found that the troubleshooting information in the text was not clearly marked. Only 14% of any of the problem-solving information they looked at was marked at all. They also found that much of the problem-solving information wasn't in the right place. They knew that people seeking problem-solving information typically would look at the procedure or near the procedure that would tell them how to perform the task that they were trying to perform. But only 57% of the time in these manuals was the troubleshooting information anywhere near the procedures. So without better marking, the researchers concluded that in this set of manuals, many of the readers would only have a 67% chance or even less of finding the information that they need. Less because this was a select group of manuals and the researchers looked really hard to find the information, much more focused than most users would be trying to find the information. So it really does point out the level of frustration that you might get without finding troubleshooting information. So what are the solutions that we found to provide problem-solving aids? One, they should be clearly marked. Troubleshooting content using the new DITA information type will be clearly marked as troubleshooting information. There should be clear markers in the text. If there are markers that show where the troubleshooting information is located, what people are doing, of course, is scanning the text rapidly. They don't want to have to read if they're not going to find the information they're looking for. The markers in the text, if you put those in, enable people to read at a rate of 600 words per minute, well above their usual rate in scanning. And those markers can be words, they can be images, they can be icons to help people locate the information as they're scanning a text. We also know that troubleshooting information should be placed right after the procedure that people have performed. That might be immediately after a step that might go wrong, or at the end of the steps, but clearly differentiated in both cases from the steps themselves. That would make them what the researchers call a skippable action. If you see something that clearly says problem solving, troubleshooting, then you know you can skip that if you're not having a problem. So it enables you not to read something that you don't need to. And of course, the keywords that can be placed in the table of contents or the index or in the search mechanisms by identifying topic information as troubleshooting. So these are the actions that we want to be able to support. So what does it mean? People need to detect a problem. They need to seek information about the symptom, about what they saw. They need to determine a likely cause for the problem. And then they need to attempt to remedy the situation to correct the problem as quickly as possible. Excuse me. So what do people do? Of course, we know that users are reluctant to use documentation in the first place, right? They try their own experience to find a solution to a problem. They might ask people around them to find a solution to the problem. If that doesn't work, they might go to do an online search. Then, if they really must, they go to the documentation, to the customer documentation. So, if all else fails, then they call customer support. Okay, so how do we can support this string of actions that we know are very typical in the user environment by providing better search and better access to problem-solving, troubleshooting information in the customer documentation. And, of course, keep them from calling customer support, which is a much more expensive way to solve the problem. With the user mindset in mind, right? We know that when people are looking for problem-solving information, they're annoyed if they can't find it. They might get angry if they can't solve a problem and it's a really serious problem. They experience a lot of frustration when trying to find that information in searches in the documentation. And they might fear that they can't solve the problem at all, that it's going to be costly to come up with an effective solution. So we want to address that kind of mindset. When people are reaching for documentation, we want them to be able to find the information that they're really looking for, and that they can find that information in as quickly as possible. So what can writers do to help? First of all, you can make troubleshooting information using the DITA troubleshooting topic and the new DITA elements. You can make troubleshooting information easy to find in your documentation. You can organize the information by following the pattern of detection, definition, diagnosis, and solution. You can write clearly within that pattern to show people how to solve the problem, and focus very quickly and effectively on the solution to the problem. Remember, many times the user does not need to know why something happened in order to solve the problem. In fact, you might not be able to tell them why it happened. There might be so many possibilities that could have caused a problem that the focus is really on the problem solution. And you want to guide the users through to the resolution of that problem as quickly as possible. So, the troubleshooting pattern, the way we have structured it in the troubleshooting documentation information type in DITA 1.3, follows this structure. First, we asked you to define a condition. What is the undesirable state in the system, in the product, in a service? What caused it? And then, of course, how do you fix it? So what I'd like to do now is turn over the program to Bob Thomas, who's going to show you the troubleshooting topic type and how we also embed troubleshooting information in other topic types. Thank you. And Bob, why don't you take over now?
Okay, thanks, Joanne. Let's see. So with DITA 1.3 troubleshooting, we have a new topic type, plus we also have some elements that are embedded within other topic types. So that's what I'm going to be showing. Why bother with a special topic type? You know, as I was saying before, this is a real common task for writing organizations, is to want to address troubleshooting in a consistent manner for a lot of the reasons Joanne was talking about. it helps writers organize information according to this condition, cause, and remedy pattern. It helps writers limit the scope of what they're focusing on to, just solving a problem. The model also has a number of built-in places where the writer can do labeling and things like that. And another thing about semantic markup is that it promotes consistency, and the end result of that is that it makes the topics that get generated easier to scan. So here is our structure. We have title, short description, which is pretty much standard for DITA. And then inside the body of the topic we have condition followed by trouble solution. Trouble solution is a wrapper element that encompasses cause and remedy pairs. Also, I'm going to talk about the role of indexing. There's nothing special here, it's just that I want to give some additional emphasis to using it for troubleshooting. So I think the best way to proceed with this is to work through a scenario. This particular scenario is one that I've called the trip circuit breaker scenario. So a system's plugged in, the power switch is on, but the system won't start. This problem is most likely external to the system, and it's almost always due to a trip circuit breaker. This is a consumer product. So let's go ahead and get started with that. I'm going to pull up a troubleshooting topics. So in here I'm going to go ahead and load some things from the clipboard. We've got the title, the system will not turn on. Now let's go ahead and put in a short description. So for this, I'm going to put in everything looks right, but the system still does not start. And so here we have title and short desk. It's the most likely, the title is the most likely way that the user would describe the problem. So really what you need to do in this case is to put yourself in the mindset of the user. How are they most likely to describe their problem or think about their problem while they're searching for a way to fix it. The title should talk about symptoms rather than causes. Short description should elaborate just a bit more on the title to help a user decide whether or not they really want to take a look at the topic. And I guess the key thing I want to emphasize here is that the title really needs to connote the salient part of the condition or symptom. Because that's where the user's that's how the user's gonna look for it. So let's go back over here to our example. I'm gonna go ahead and open up a body element here and start off with a condition. So I guess the first thing I want to put in here is a title. So I'm simply going to call this condition because I don't have a better name for it. And then we'll go ahead and put in text for the condition. The system's plugged in, the power switch is on, but the system will not start. So here you've noticed that there is a thread going on here from the title to the short description and finally into the condition where we complete our description of what the symptom is. So I'm going to run back over here to the slide deck and talk a little more about condition. So as I've said, it elaborates on essential information beyond what you've already said in the title and the short description. Please do not use condition to simply repeat what you've already said. In my opinion, I think it's better to simply omit the condition if you don't have anything new to add beyond what you've already presented. Use condition for this title unless you have a good reason to do otherwise. Sometimes, there might be reasons to do otherwise if you're doing something highly structured. For example, the troubleshooting topic type is an ideal way to document alarm clearing procedures on complex systems. So let's see, the content model for conditions very similar to section. You can have paragraphs, lists, tables, illustrations, and things like that. Only put in information that's directly related to the condition or the symptom that the topic resolves. You do not want to get into talking about why the condition may have occurred at this point. So that brings us to the next stage here in developing our troubleshooting topic. I'm going to go ahead and put in this trouble solution element. And let's go talk about that for a moment. This thing is a wrapper, and it's going to contain a cause followed by a remedy. So for our example here, initially we're just going to have one of these, but it is possible to have multiple ones of these to help you deal with troubleshooting situations that are a little more complicated. In extremely complex troubleshooting scenarios, you may want to use the first trouble solution to help users isolate a cause and narrow it down a little bit. So let's see, I think it's time to go back over here and put in a cause. Here I'm going to put in a title, and I'm simply going to call it cause at this point. And wait a minute. Okay, yeah, this problem's usually due to power not being supplied and so on and so forth. So there's our cause. So what this, it does pretty much what you would expect. You use this to describe a potential source of the problem that you've been developing through title, short desk, and condition. Use the word cause for the title unless you have a good reason to do something else. One time you might want to use the title for something else is if you have multiple trouble solution elements. Then you can use cause to differentiate between the trouble solutions. You can use the title here for that. Here again, the content model for cause is familiar. It's very similar to that of section. And finally, the cause really sets the context for the user for the steps that are going to follow in remedy. So let's go back over here and put in a remedy element. And let's see. Once again, we're going to go ahead and put in a title, and we'll do something like that, put in remedy. And here, I think what I want is steps. So I'm going to be doing quite a bit of clicking here because I've the other thing that I'm going to do in here also, I just saw in my clip deck that I really need to put in a warning here too. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And let's see here. For the type, I want to have it be warning. There, that's better. And I need to put in some content here. There we go. Sorry for the delay. I got a little bit out of sync there. For this guy here, I also want to indicate that we have a UI control over here. Okay, so let me quickly try and put in the next two steps here. Reset the breaker, and we'll go in here and so turn the power switch on. And this is also going to have a result too. So let me go ahead and stick that in there. And the system turns on. So there we have our topic. Just to recap, we've got our title, our short description, and the condition, which fully describe what the symptom is. Then we have this cause-remedy pair inside of trouble solution, which will help the reader go ahead or the user go ahead and actually fix their problem. So the remedy element's pretty interesting. This was a real sticking point during the development of the troubleshooting topic type. Before DITA 1.3, there was no way to acquire and use the steps element from task. One of the things that this troubleshooting feature prompted the DITA Technical Committee to extend the DITA architecture to allow us to borrow steps out of task. We felt like this was really important, mainly because of the number of reuse opportunities that open up through conref. So in plain language, that means that you can now conref steps in from task right into your remedies. With other specializations that I'd seen for troubleshooting, because steps was already used in task, the information architects were required to go ahead and get in there and create parallel names like troubleshooting steps and troubleshooting step and so forth. This eliminates all of that. For here, once again, use remedy for this title unless you have a good reason to do something else. You know, at one point, we had even decided to set a processing expectation where things like the Open Toolkit would be expected to simply put in condition, cause, and remedy as the automatic titles for these. We backed off of that though because we came up with a number of use cases where that wasn't going to work too well, especially when you have multiple trouble solution elements. It's a shame not to be able to use the titles on cause to differentiate between them. In lieu of steps, you can also use steps unordered or steps informal. So that provides a fair amount of additional flexibility. So here is what the formatted output of that looks in. This is an Oasis Pdf plugin for the Open Toolkit. Here's what it looks like there. Once again, there's not really many surprises here. This is pretty much what you would expect it to look like. The neat thing about this, though, is that this look and feel is going to be quite consistent because it's being batch generated. So there won't be quirky or arbitrary differences between the output. So anyway, labeling and troubleshooting topics is really important. Joanne touched on that when she was talking about scanning earlier. So the title really has to be meaningful from the user's perspective. This is the main hook that you're setting to attract the user when they have that problem. So a great deal of thought needs to go into that. Single trouble solution topics should use consistent labeling for cause and remedy. You saw that I chose cause and remedy for those labels. Your organization may have other preferences. But whatever you decide, I would encourage you to be consistent with it. For multiple trouble solution topics, once again, using distinctive cause titles really helps users quickly scan. Sometimes they may have a hunch or a notion about what the cause is when they go into the topic. And when you have multiple causes, putting labels on them helps them zero in on the one that their intuition tells them is likely. So I'm going to go ahead and I got ahead of myself there with a slide deck. One thing I want to do here is get into talking about indexing. I'm going to do some things in text mode, mainly because I want to quickly paste something in so you don't have to listen to me fumble around typing here. So I'm going to quickly do that and then go out of the not so scary view and show you what I've done. So here I've got a number of index terms. This first one is simply the system will not turn on. It's a direct match with the title. Sometimes users have preferences regarding table of contents or index about where they want to go. Sometimes it's based on their experience with searching the document for other things. Down here, note this nested index entry. The outer term is troubleshooting and the inner one is system will not turn on. Then I have a couple of index references for help and broken where I direct them to troubleshooting. Finally, I put in another nested one, primary, secondary, with turn on as the primary and system will not turn on as the secondary. I'm not claiming these are the best ways to index this. Indexing really is an art form, I think. And my point is, though, is that you give careful consideration to the index. As Joanne was saying earlier, the research showed that, you know, in a very significant number of cases, this is how the reader will actually find your troubleshooting information. So pay close attention to this. Okay, so now we have a situation where maybe perhaps we want to have multiple trouble solution elements. In this demonstration, I'm going to extend our scenario to include the possibility that a power supply is bad and that it needs to be replaced. So let's go back to our example, and what I'm going to do here is open up another trouble solution element, and in that I'm going to go ahead and put in a cause, and the title for the cause is going to be bad power supply. And let's see, let me see if I can find something on my clipboard. Yeah, okay, there it is. And following that, I'm going to go ahead and stick in a remedy. And here too, I'm simply going to stick with my remedy title. Then we're going to go ahead and put in some steps. I'm actually not going to populate all these steps. You know, as entertaining as it is to watch me fumble with my clipboard, I think we can just let it go at that. The other thing that I'm going to do, though, is go up here and revisit this first trouble solution. Now just calling this thing cause is really not all that helpful, so I'm going to change it to no power at the outlet as the cause for that. So that's pretty much it for the troubleshooting topic. As you can see, using multiple trouble solutions is quite easy. The only key there is to really make sure that your cause titles help the user discriminate between different causes at a glance. So now I'm going to shift gears. We're going to get into another part of troubleshooting that Joanne was talking about, mainly putting the troubleshooting information or corrective action advice right next to where it's going to be needed. We also have an opportunity when we create elements like this to go ahead and associate icons and predictable labeling with them, which really helps with scanning. In all three of these elements that we introduced for, or three mechanisms that we introduced for this, I strongly encourage you to limit the information to a single action, or if more than that's required, go ahead and create a troubleshooting topic and then direct the user to go to that topic rather than getting creative and putting numbered lists and things like that inside of these elements. So the first category of things, we added a couple of elements for task-related embedded troubleshooting. So we wanted the information to occur right next to where a problem might be. So this is after a result statement, whether it's a step result or a task result. In these cases too, once again, we're following the condition cause remedy pattern. It just happens a lot quicker because the information is usually briefer. And so the two element type names are step troubleshooting and task troubleshooting. I'm going to go ahead and go to another example here. So let me get back over to my editor and go to this file, and here we have some task. You know, there's no surprises here. Let's first of all go down to this step 3. And what I'm going to do is put in a step troubleshooting right after step result. So I'll go ahead and open the element and do my magic with the clipboard. So here it says if an error message appears, so that is this portion's our condition. The system configuration setting may be wrong. This is our cause. And click the back button and oh yes, I'd be remiss if I didn't tag this. So click the back button and select the other system configuration setting. So right here we, so that's the remedy part. So right here we have a fully self-contained troubleshooting piece of information, and it immediately follows the step result. Down here we have a task result, and if you're thinking that the wording in here doesn't really jibe with the steps, you're right. This is just kind of thrown together, so I apologize for that. Let me go ahead and put in a task troubleshooting element immediately following the task result here. So in this case, I'm going to put in this. If new content does not appear on the website, there's our condition. The web server has a stale cache. There's the cause. To fix this, follow the steps in restarting the web server. And in this case, what I would do is actually throw in a cross-reference for that. That topic doesn't actually exist, so I'm not going to go ahead and fool around with setting the href on that. So those are two examples of showing step troubleshooting and task troubleshooting. Go back over here, and here is what the output for step troubleshooting looks like in our Oasis Pdf template. As you can see here, we've got a little wrench along with some generated text that says trouble. So right away, the icon is something that's instantly recognizable by the reader when they scan. So is the word trouble with a question mark. And notice the close proximity to the step result. Similarly, here is the output for task troubleshooting. So above there we have the result. The new content uploaded to the website now appears on the website. And once again, we have the same icon and the same label. We felt that there really was no reason to have a different icon or label because in the user's mind, they've got trouble and they simply want to fix it. So they don't really pay much attention to whether it's step or task related when they're scanning. Notice also that in this particular output, restarting the web server is a live cross-reference. So that brings us to the trouble note type. In this particular case, I don't have a demonstration set up for this, but it is just like inserting a regular note type, only set the type to trouble rather than tip or caution or something like that. When you have this sort of, when you use this sort of note type, you need to put it adjacent to descriptive material where confusion could occur. So let me go ahead and show you an example of the output for this. Once again, notice the consistency with the labeling and icon that we were using in task. This is real important to have this sort of continuity, even though it's 3 different pieces of markup that are causing it to appear in the output. So yeah, in this case, if you actually read this, it says if certain items are missing from your menus, your installation may be set to hide them. And then it goes ahead and it tells you what to do to actually show all the menu items. Here again, notice that we've got this same condition, cause, and remedy pattern occurring on a small scale here too. If the remedy were more than one step, we would probably create a topic for this and put in a cross-reference to it. So I'm starting to wind things up here. I encourage you to put the power of semantic markup to work as you write, you know, with all of DITA, but in particular with troubleshooting. It's going to help you build consistency. It's going to eliminate a lot of low-level housekeeping chores to stay consistent. The troubleshooting semantics in the markup makes it a lot easier to limit scope. If you're really having trouble finding tags to put your content in, it's a good indicator that perhaps you're putting in information that really doesn't belong there. The troubleshooting markup also reduces arbitrary differences, you know, in a single document or across products for that matter. The uniform formatting that you get out of batch publishing, like something with the Open Toolkit, really helps users find things. It reduces the number of surprises or inconsistencies they run across. So, in conclusion, troubleshooting information that is easy to find saves companies money because customers don't end up on the support line as often. And of course, it also helps mitigate customer dissatisfaction over things breaking. The consistent structure, labeling, and formatting for troubleshooting really improves the odds that the user is going to find some help. The tightly scoped information improves the chances that the user is going to be able to correct a problem. The DITA 1.3 troubleshooting topic and the embedded elements really make sure that all of this is going to happen. So at this point, that's the end of the slide deck. Here is a slide that talks about where you can go to for more information. Well, for me, I actually wrote a white paper on this. It is up on the Oasis site. I would encourage you to go out there and download that. The research paper that Joanne was talking about earlier in the presentation, here's a live link for that. And of course, you can always contact either of us by email, and Joanne or myself, either one of us would be happy to respond to any questions you might have. So that's the end of the show. At this point, I'd like to go ahead and do questions. Joanne is still having audio difficulties. I'm sure she would really be delighted to be here to help answer questions as well, but I will do the best I can. Oh wait, I think I see her on here. Let me see. Okay. Okay, so Jane or Dee, if I could get you to help me with this. Jane or Dee, if I could get you to help.
Hi, Bob. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is Dee from Oasis. We have one question that follows on, the last part that you just presented. Why insert a warning in the procedure? Could be converted into step one. Make sure you have the necessary skills. Otherwise, ask for an expert or include it in the short description as a description, not as a warning.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't have much to say about that. The questioner's probably right about that. I don't know. There's so many different ways that you can mark things up. I think one of the things is for your organization to have policies about how you're going to do admonishments like warnings and where they ought to appear. So I guess that's about all I have to say about that.
Okay, so what we're going to do is, because we're having all these audio problems, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. And any questions that anyone from the audience has, please submit them now, and we will get back to you in terms of an email, and we will also send you the link to the recorded version.
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you so much, Bob. Thanks, Joanne. On behalf of Oasis, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.